Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's guest is Gavin Barrilleaux. And he actually is a strength and conditioning coach at Exos. And Exos is a company that provides health coaching, nutrition counseling, fitness training to different corporations in the country. And today he wants to talk about how he works with mindset when training clients. And I hope that you can learn some wonderful lessons from Gavin. So let's go say hi. Welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluheich, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode that we will have a fun challenge for the month. Please also join our Facebook group, High Energy Girls. Looking forward to seeing you on the inside. Hope you enjoy the show. Hey beautiful, my name is Tracy and I'm a health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. My passion is to help women become high energy, fat burning phenoms without starving to death and spending hours in the gym. So are you exhausted from the crazy holidays and maybe feeling a little bit of fluffy? Well, guess what? You are in luck because I put together a high energy transformation guide and it is completely free. And it's going to help you boost your energy, banish brain fog, build a little muscle, and burn off that belly fat. Okay, so here's what is in the guide. First off, it starts with mindset, because let's face it, your body can do it. It's your mind you have to convince. Next, we have food. There are 3 phases of the food plan to help you heal your body and create a fat-burning machine. It is awesome, trust me. Also, fitness. We have components for both the home and the gym, beginning, intermediate, and advanced, because if you want to age stronger, then you need to move. And lastly, and most important, is self-care, because let's face it, we women are so crazy busy taking care of everybody else, our homes, our jobs, our families, that we don't take time for ourselves. And even on the airplane, the flight attendant says to put your oxygen mask on first. So grab this free guide, 21 days, high energy transformation. Just click on the link below and that will show up in your inbox right away. Hey Gavin, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you here too. So why don't you get started just by letting the listeners know a little bit about you.
Yeah. I like to refer to myself as a strength and conditioning specialist. That's kind of where my background and my career has led me, and that's where I wanted it to lead me. But yeah, a little bit about my beginning stages of my background. I attended university in Louisiana, McNeese State University, where I got my undergrad and my grad from there. Had a focus on behavioral science in my undergrad with some focal points in human performance. And then I went on to get my master's in exercise physiology. And that kind of led me into the private sector, strength and conditioning realm, where I did an internship with the company that I'm currently working for called Exos, EXOS. I interned with them out in Phoenix, Arizona back in 2014, which is where their headquarters is located. They're a health and human performance company where they focus on many different sectors, such as sports performance, general population, corporate wellness, and special operations in the military.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so from there, it kind of led me into a full-time position with them. I started out in Portland, Oregon, where I worked at the Intel headquarters up there. And Exos was contracted by Intel, where we ran a health and wellness program with them. We managed their fitness facilities on site with registered dietitians and performance specialists. And from there, I kind of led into more of managerial roles, where I came down here to Dallas, Texas for the past about 2 years. Now I'm helping to manage a site over here under an Exos contract at Texas Instruments. If you've ever used a calculator, you probably are familiar with that brand.
Of course.
But they do a lot more than calculators, is what I've learned. They do semiconductors. They're kind of a competitor of Intel, actually. So if you know anything about Intel and what they do with laptops and electronics, and same thing with Texas Instruments. So yeah, I kind of in the general population realm now, working with your everyday 9-to-5 worker, more so executives and tech people now.
Cool. Yeah, well, I live in Silicon Valley, so I'm kind of surrounded by that as well.
Yeah, so you're very familiar.
Oh, yeah. Born and raised in San Jose, so it's everywhere. Google Village is coming to downtown San Jose, and my parents live really close to there, and we just sold my childhood home. It's a small little teeny 1,300 square foot home, sold for $1.2 million because of the whole Google Village.
Oh my goodness!
And is that crazy?
That's insane. Yeah, I felt some of that wave in Oregon when I was living there. They had a lot of companies moving their main headquarters up there, such as Under Armour and Adidas and etc. So the housing market was booming as well up there. So I can imagine in that Silicon Valley area, San Francisco area, it's just even worse or better, however you want to look at it.
I guess it depends on what side of the buying you're on.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a seller, you're loving it. So. Yeah,
for reals. But then you got to buy something else. So then, Hey, okay. So getting back, I tend to go down rabbit trails. So strength and conditioning coach. That is what I'm very interested in, because my focus is on teaching women how to age stronger so that and to realize that they have options. They don't have to just settle for whatever they're given, but that it's never too late and they're not too old to get started. So what type of wisdom would you impart to our listeners based on all your experience?
Well, if you think about your main point that you just said, is it's never too late to get started, right? That kind of stems more from the mindset from an individual. It's that starting point. It's letting yourself know that and really communicating to yourself that it is not too late. No matter what weight you are, what age you are, what injuries you may have accumulated, et cetera, it's never too late. And when it comes to strength and conditioning, particularly, strength training in general, one of the initial benefits you get if you just take that leap and dive in is you're going to see the benefits of your mindset, your mood, your energy levels, just your positivity all around. That's what's really going to get that ball rolling, that snowball rolling downhill for you, and really help you to start that journey. So just taking that initial leap and seeing those initial benefits from the psychological and the that side of the realm are some of the most motivating things for any woman out there.
Yeah. And when you work with people, do you usually do it like one-on-one or group, or how do you work with people?
I've done really every scenario, from one-on-one to small groups where it's anywhere from 2 to 4 individuals to large group classes. Here lately, I've been really focusing on one-on-one training, and I tend to be able to impact them on an individual level a lot more from that one-on-one, which I think that's probably pretty obvious for most people compared to a large group class. But there is benefits in both. I think one of the most motivating components is group training compared to one-on-one training.
Yeah. So, and why do you like group training?
From the motivation aspect, it kind of breaks the ice for a lot of people starting out. When it comes to group classes, you're probably going to find more beginners in there, I would think, simply because at a lot of gyms and fitness centers, the group classes are complimentary compared to one-on-one training, where you would typically have to pay for that. So with the group training, it's a lot of individuals just starting out. It helps to break the ice because you don't have all that focus on you. The coach there or the instructor there has a large class of 6 to 25 people in there. And everybody's doing the same thing. So everybody understands the awkwardness, the struggle, and it also allows the individuals in the group to kind of learn from each other. You know, they can kind of peek over to the left or peek over to their right, see Joe or Sally do something different, kind of help them fix their form and make them feel a little bit more comfortable, I think.
That's hilarious that you just said that, because I teach Group X and I also participate in Group X. And I this morning I was at boot camp, and I always lose count of things, you know, so I always like it when somebody's just like a little bit ahead of me so I can pay attention to the rep count, you know. Yeah. So I'm always peeking over and seeing what, you know, that's funny. So you're basically doing the one-on-one personal training right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so what myths do you think that people have about strength training?
I think one of the biggest ones, which I'm sure with your podcast you've heard a million times, so I'm just beating a dead horse here, is for women thinking that they're going to put on a lot of muscle. And they're really hesitant about lifting weights because, you know, you watch these movies, you watch things on TV, and you see a guy lifting weights, and you see the guy with big muscles because that's what they're trying to advertise on a movie or on TV. You know, you're not just going to put an average guy in the gym when you're making a multi-million-dollar movie. You know, you want it to be the peak shape. And for a woman to get that way, it's with those large muscles, it's nearly impossible. And so they need to really start to understand and know that they have nothing to fear from that side of things.
Yeah, totally. Unless they are injecting with testosterone or some other performance enhancing agent.
Exactly.
So when what I was really intrigued is when we had our conversation about mindset. Can you open up a little bit more about what you mean with, like, what types of tips would you offer people to work on their mindset?
Yeah, when it comes to mindset, I think it's, from a coaching standpoint, that's a big layer of the onion that's being peeled right now. Mm-hmm. I think in the past, 30 years or so, it's been strictly around science and research and what it comes down to with sets and reps, what type of training you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. Getting the most bang for your buck in your session, trying to find out what's the elite training, what are you supposed to do? But right now we're kind of shifting into a kind of the psychological side of things and really being able to try our best to communicate with athletes or clients. And that's where kind of the mindset comes into play. And I'm starting to realize that with a lot of clients now is, you have to really hone in on client to client, individual basis personalities. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out, what's their why. I think that's the biggest thing. There's a reason your viewers are listening to this podcast right now. There's a reason Sally stepped into that group exercise room. There's a reason Joe came to do an initial consultation with me. There's a why behind them all, and it's really trying to dive in and really understand what that why is. And then from there, be able to link components of health and wellness, whether it's the strength training side of things, or whether it's the nutrition side of things, or whether it's the recovery and yoga and stretching side of things, into their why, and allow those components to motivate them along the way, and let them know there's a reason, there's a rhyme and reason behind why they're doing certain things. and allow them to really understand what health and wellness is all about. And when they start to understand those things, it's almost empowering for them and self-motivating for them. I mean, I've seen several times with clients that, they become ambassadors to health and wellness because of these things.
Yes, totally. Because they're inspired and they feel I feel like they have so much gratitude for the change in their life that they want to go and support and help others with the same change.
Absolutely.
So what type of reasons do you think that people should do strength training? Like, what health benefits do you find that your clients have achieved from it?
I think one of the biggest ones that it oftentimes gets overlooked is physical resiliency. Because most people come to me or come to a coach or a trainer in general because of their goals. And typically their goals aren't always to be resilient. It's typically to lose weight, put on muscle, get stronger, et cetera, et cetera. But all those components in the end lead to physical resiliency. And what I mean by that is allowing an individual to build up body armor, we can call it. And that body armor is, the ability to avoid an injury. I think one of the biggest setbacks when it comes to gaining weight and things of that nature is an injury. I mean, it puts you down for weeks, sometimes months.
Oh, yeah.
Within that time period, you start to lose motivation, sink into a depression, so you're eating more. You're obviously not exercising because of the injury. So building that physical resiliency is a really, really powerful one, especially as we're aging. I mean, life and biology is just trying to tear us down year by year. Once you hit a certain age, it's, almost feels like it's an uphill battle, right? And the best thing you can do is build that resiliency for your joints and your tendons and your ligaments to prevent an injury and be able to do the things you love every day and not take things for granted, like walking up the stairs to go to your desk, or walking your dog after work, or spending time with your grandchildren, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, lifestyle changes, things that actually make a difference besides just the number on the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find that when a person focuses so much on weight loss and on a quote-unquote diet and on losing weight, that they oftentimes throw in the towel and give up on their goals, because if they have like a cheat day or a cheat meal, or they fall off the quote-unquote wagon, I always say there's no wagon. This is modern America. There's no freaking wagon. Instead of focusing on the diet, just focusing on getting stronger and making good choices with nutrition and workout, instead of just like, okay, we want to lose 10 pounds. You know what I mean?
Right.
So What is your recommended exercise prescription? Like, there's a lot of research right now with Mark Sisson's new book, and I'm hearing a lot of different opinions on what is a good routine or a schedule. What do you recommend for just the average person?
I think one of the biggest answers that in the strength and conditioning realm is it depends.
Yeah.
And people hate to hear that. People want that exact day, that exact number, that exact workout, and it's just not that easy. But for your viewers, I'll dive in a little bit. I think we can start with for a beginner. And what I'll consider a beginner is someone that hasn't trained consistently in a year, 12 months. So they're deconditioned to cardiorespiratory endurance, to muscular endurance, to heavy strength training. They're deconditioned to all those things. So they're a fresh starter. They're a beginner. Someone like that, you have to build up work capacity for them. You have to worry a little bit about overtraining symptoms. You have to worry a little bit about them getting enough recovery, because that's really when the benefits are coming into play, is during the recovery process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go too hard, if you shoot out of that cannon too fast, then in a way you almost end up wasting your time because you're not getting enough recovery, and in the long run it can lead to an injury or just a lot of inflammation with aches and pains. So for someone like that, I would say 2 to 3 days per week for at least the first month.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because it is more on the conservative side of things with the 2 to 3 days per week. But you got to remember, you have to earn your right to be able to do particularly strength training and aerobic training, we'll call it, multiple days per week. Your body's just, it can't recover that quick yet, especially if you're not a young whippersnapper anymore. You're not in your early 20s or late teens, the body just doesn't recover that quick anymore. So building up that work capacity to be able to handle multiple days a week is what you ultimately want to get to. And then when you get to that point, then you can start honing in on the intensity of these sessions, the duration of these sessions, et cetera, et cetera. So within these 2 to 3 days per week, I would recommend at least a day's rest in between the training sessions, because that day's rest is going to give you a complete recovery period.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of almost gives you peace of mind that it's not going to lead to overtraining symptoms. It's going to almost leave you wanting more. Pulling back on those reins a little bit is going to make you eager to get back out there the next day. But taking that day off, it keeps that motivation there. It doesn't burn you out as quick.
And so let me go ahead and say that for the listeners that so he said that it's not so easy to recover when you're at a certain age. As we age, our recovery, but that is something that with the constant practice, it's something called hormesis, whereas when you give your body stress and it recovers, that it will get easier and easier, and recovery will be more, proficient or whatever, so that you can, improve upon that. You're not stuck where you're at.
Absolutely. And from the strength training side of things, we call that the overload principle. So, your body, if you want to get stronger, it almost is the same concept as you're explaining to the viewers from the strength training side of things. If you want to get stronger, then you can't constantly use the same load. If you're using 100 pounds for your squats, you have to overload it, because your body will become efficient with that weight and that movement. It will adapt. It will recover, and that stressor won't be as much of a stress anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point, you need to overload it. You need to add more load. You need to change the variation in the movement, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the point we really want our clients to get to. When you're to that point, then your recovery is very efficient.
So when you say 2 to 3 days, are you doing like 2 days full body, 1 day cardio, or what are you recommending?
That's kind of where the it depends falls into it, right? Because technically, I could do 5 straight days, Monday through Friday, with a client beginner. I've done it probably about a year ago with an older gentleman. He was in his 60s. He wanted 5 straight days a week, 30-minute sessions. So with him, I had to do some trial and error. And over the first couple of months, it started leading to some inflammation in his shoulder, aches and pains in his shoulder. It was just taking longer for that inflammation to disperse and go away. So it was leaving him with some shoulder pain a lot of the time. So for him, the recovery wasn't there yet.
Ah.
So what I needed to do was I needed to counter that with more upper body, lower body days, rather than total body days based on certain splits, such as upper pushing movements, upper pulling movements, et cetera, et cetera. So for the 2 to 3 days, it almost becomes a trial and error on an individual basis. And that's where the individual needs to pay attention to their body and how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll say with the 2 days, with 2 days, with at least 1 day's rest in between. I mean, each person can do a total body, pretty intense workout, and should have plenty enough time to recover for the following week. With 3 days, you could probably do total body with the day's rest in between. So like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, total body workout. By the time you hit that Friday, it's going to be a little iffy. You're going to have to see how your body feels. Are you pretty tight? Is there still some inflammation? Is there aches and pains? From that point, you got to determine, are you overtraining it? Is it better off to do something a little bit light? Maybe some accessory movements rather than compound movements like squats, pull-ups, things like that. Maybe more individual muscle group work. So with the 3 days a week, what I would do as a safe bet is I would do 1 day upper body, 1 day lower body, and then the third day, kind of a lower intensity total body movement, almost just like body weight movements. In a way, you're kind of for that third day, in a way, you're kind of just flushing out the body a little bit, flushing out some of that buildup of lactic acid, and kind of recovering the body while also giving it a little bit of stress, building up some work capacity for it to be able to handle stress when it's already stressed out.
So with that, okay, so wouldn't you be working on your first and second days if you're doing heavier, like lower upper, and then on the third day you're doing just like body weight? Aren't you working different muscle fibers when you would do, like, say, a body weight day? So would that aid in recovery? Because that's
with a body weight day.
Yeah,
it could. I think we'll say after your Monday, Wednesday workout, one was an upper body focus, one was a lower body focus. By the time you hit Friday, if you're really feeling it, I mean, if your quads are just sensitive to the touch, they're so sore. If your glutes are the same way, if your shoulders and pecs are the same way, then that's a good thing. You really stressed out the body, and it's going to adapt to that. So when it comes to that Friday workout, I think the last thing you would want to do is just stay put. If you stay put, things are going to stay tight. Things are going to stay sore for a longer period of time. You almost want to do some active recovery is what we'd call it. Yeah. And an active recovery can come in a lot of different forms. I mean, it can be some foam rolling, some self-myofascial release. It can be just some very low intensity cardio where you're hopping on a stationary bike for a few minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes. It can be playing some type of sport.
Yoga.
Yoga's a fantastic one. But when it comes to that third day, why I would recommend a body weight movement, it's a body weight training session. It's almost like yoga, but now you're getting a little bit more specific to the movement patterns you've been doing on that Monday and Wednesday. You're almost getting to practice them a little bit, stress out that movement pattern just enough to not put you over the edge. So that third day, there's a lot of different ways you could go about it, but getting some type of active recovery, I think, would be your best bet. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. What I do with clients is I'll do like a full body Monday, full body Thursday. So then they have 2 days in between to recover. And then, but I also like the upper, lower, upper, so kind of like what you said, but that third day, but that's a really good idea. I've never thought about just doing a body weight day.
Yeah. And, the 2 days in betweens I like that approach too, from the standpoint that, there's a specific training effect that's going to happen, especially with new stress for new beginners. And that's a delayed onset muscle soreness.
Right.
That's going to be anywhere from 24 to 72 hours post exercise. So if you work out on Monday, you still could be feeling it on Thursday. But if you were to work out again on Wednesday, it's likely you're still going to be sore.
Yeah.
So from that approach for myself, that's why I'll typically do an upper compared to a lower, so they don't have to stress out that still sore area. But for you, with those 2 total body days, I think that gives you enough time, Monday till Thursday, for them to be recovered in time to be able to do that total body again.
It seems to be working for me right now. Plus, there's so many things I want people to do with variety, myself included. I think for me, I get bored easy, so I want to always be mixing it up, and so that's why. Because there's so many things I want to do. So it's like, okay, let's just do the full body. That way, I can go do a class tomorrow.
Absolutely, variety is the best thing. It keeps everybody motivated. It doesn't get boring, and that's the best thing for the body and the mind, in my opinion, is variety.
Yeah, I love variety. When I go teach a class, I don't even know what I'm going to do until I get there. I just like to kind of wing it. So, okay, so I love that. So what tips would you want to leave the listeners with?
Well, the one we just talked on is variety. And variety can come from a bunch of different standpoints. It doesn't have to be just training. Provide variety in different approaches, different areas of health and wellness. So think about your minds. What area do you have? Are you doing any type of meditation on a weekly basis? Yoga is we'll call it active meditation. It gives you a chance to really escape technology, escape the fast-paced lifestyle that we have to live nowadays, it seems like. So really honing in on your mindset, and then also finding your why behind the mindset. What really motivates you to get into health and wellness, to be healthy? Is it weight loss? Is it preventing yourself from getting cancer because it runs in your family rampant, like mine? Is it being healthy for your future grandkids? What is that why? And apply that to your mindset for the rest of your week. The next thing is your nutrition. They have a ton of good diets out there, a ton of things that work for people. I think the last thing you can do is just shut every possible diet out and be anti-diet. But there's a lot of things that work for people. So find something that works for you. It's okay to dabble around with a few different ones, a few different approaches to your already set diet. Find something that works for you, but be consistent with it enough to where you can really get some good feedback on that. The next thing is your movement, kind of like your diet. It's okay to dabble with a few different styles of training. It doesn't necessarily have to be heavy barbell training. It could be some group exercise classes. It can be one-on-one personal training. It could be yoga. A lot of good yoga classes have some good strength training benefits to it. I think you'll eventually hit a ceiling in there, but it will give you some good strength training benefits. So find something that gets you into that movement week by week. Last thing you want to do is be doing some type of movement or training that you just absolutely just despise and just hate going to week by week. There's just no motivation there. Find something that works for you. And then last is your recovery. With your recovery, that may be the most important, because that's where you're going to get all your benefits. That's where you're going to relieve your mental and physical stress. That's where you're going to get better. So make sure to approach it from a nutritional recovery standpoint. Make sure you're getting the right nutrients after a stressful event or workout. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Prevent Alzheimer's. I think that's one of the biggest leading things nowadays is kind of the dementia Alzheimer's side of things, with targeting that lack of sleep and just heavy stress all day long. And then also your recovery, just to be able to do those active things week by week that you do love. Most people love the movement side of things. So in order to be able to do that and prevent injury, make sure you're getting the proper recovery.
Yeah, that is really important. And I feel like I've been trying to tell my friends at the gym, you don't need to work out every single day. Your rest is where your gains are made. And they're so addicted to the buzz and the good feelings that they get afterwards that they just aren't, wanting to give it up.
Yeah, it's tough. Athletes are the same way, we've been drilled with the mindset that work harder than the next person, right? Yeah. And, now what I'm trying to preach is work smarter, not harder. find out what's the most efficient thing to be doing. And if you can educate them along the way, then that's your best chance at having them do an efficient routine week by week.
Yeah, for reals. Hold their hand and have an accountability. That's what I like, Just get them along every step of the way. So that's awesome. Well, Gavin, I'm just so excited that you came on and shared your wisdom today. How can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I'm not a huge social media person, but you can find me on Facebook, Gavin Barrilleaux. You can reach me by email if you have questions or anything. My email is gbarrilleaux@teamexos.com. Team being TEAM, Exos being EXOS.com.
So can I ask you a question? So on Exos, so when people come to you, so you only work with people that work at TI?
TI and contractors, correct. And then I'll do some outside stuff with individual training, sometimes with athletes, but yeah, particularly those that work with TI or contractors with TI. So
do they have like a facility at Texas Instruments, like a gym there that people just come to you all day?
Yeah, they have a huge, I almost call it a health club. It's your standard multi-level fitness center with indoor basketball court, indoor swimming pool. We have a dietitian on site. So it's a well-rounded approach to health and wellness that, these employees and contractors are able to take advantage of.
Oh, cool. Okay. That all sounds great.
It's pretty awesome.
I mean, that's cool that companies are doing that. So Exos basically is a company that will staff and provide trainers for different big corporations for their fitness center.
Exactly. Yeah. We're typically working with some of the higher end companies like Google and Tesla, Texas Instruments, Intel, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we provide a lot of different options and different realms of training for them.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool. Well, that sounds like a fun thing and a very good thing, because corporations need to realize that when they have healthy employees, it's going to save them a ton of money.
Yep. Make them more productive as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you, my dear. I appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you for listening to today's show. For complete show notes, head on over to highenergygirl.com/show. Hopefully you were able to take one nugget to apply to your week so that you too can age stronger. Thanks for listening and make it a great day, girls. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.